Hello, my name is Brian Dawson, and I have a Bachelor's of Science degree in history. And today I am going to discuss the Spanish Aztec War and New Spain, which we now know as Mexico. This is part two of a video essay series that I started. The first video was talking about the pre-Hispanic cultures in Central America. Today, we're going to focus on the Aztec, also known as the Mexica, where Mexico gets the name Mexico from. We're going to talk about the meeting of the Spaniards and the inhabitants of this landmass, the Aztecs. We're going to talk about King Montezuma. We're going to talk about other figures that are relevant to the story, timelines, dates. And when I was growing up, I didn't know much about this topic. So today, I'm going to share with you what I've learned. Thank you. The invaders saw things never seen or ever dreamed of. Mexicoyote Chronicle. We gazed upon all this splendor at once. We scarcely knew what to think, and we doubted whether any of it was real. A series of large towns stretched themselves along the banks of the lake, out of which still larger ones rose magnificently above the waters. Innumerable crowds of canoes were playing everywhere around us. At regular distances, we continuously passed over new bridges, and before us lay the great city of Mexico, Tenochtitlan, in all its splendor. Bernard Diaz. The date was April 22nd, 1519. The Spaniards came floating into central Mexico, now known as Good Friday. The Conquistador, Hernan Cortez, commanded an expedition exploring the Yucatan Peninsula. 800 miles away in Mexico City, Emperor Montezuma II, the ninth king of the Aztecs, ruled the vast territory of all of southern Mexico. Aztecs are known for human sacrifices, great pyramids, advanced sciences, and, of course, Tenochtitlan, which is now present-day Mexico City. Aztecs had trade routes as far south as Panama. However, in 1511, a shipwreck of conquistadors, one we know named as Gonzalo Guerrero, was wrecked. Later, was found in 1519 by Aguilar. Geronimo Aguilar was another conquistador. When he found him, Guerrero was covered in tattoos, was brown, had a wife and 3 children. Guerrero told his friend Aguilar that he had no desire to go with him and conquer lands. Cortez decided not to kill him, instead to use him as a translator. Later, Guerrero would actually pick up arms to fight against the Spanish. Cortez arrived in the state of Tabasco, where he met his next ally, who will go down in history as one of the most controversial figures in Mexico history. He received from a native lord a group of 20 young female slaves that Cortez distributed among his men. A remarkable young female woman, about 20 years old, who had been sold into slavery after her father remarried, named Malinali. Malinali was said to be stunningly beautiful, spoke several languages, and Cortez took her en route to Tenochtitlan, which he had heard about. Malinali spoke Mayan to Aguilar, who spoke Spanish to Cortez, and Malinali would later be used as an interpreter to Cortez' interaction with King Montezuma in Tenochtitlan. Malinali was baptized as Marina by the Spanish and called Malinichi by the Mexicans. There is even a word derived from her name to refer to excess love for all things foreign and the betrayal of one's own. Malinicanism. In November of 1519, they finally reached the pyramids, water canals, which were full of canoes, gardens, and thousands of men, women, and children. They had arrived to the city of Tenochtitlan. The Montezuma context, which is preserved in the Library of Anthropology and the History of Mexico, shows Montezuma neck with a rope tied to his neck by a Spaniard. But let's go to the beginning. How did all of this take place? How were the Spanish able to conquer the great city of Tenochtitlan? Well, to understand this, you have to remove what you think you know about the modern world and go back to the world before this world. Well, the legend has it that Cortez planned to gather tribes who were under the subjugation of Emperor Montezuma to capture the king and his city. However, originally Montezuma fed Cortez and his men, treated them with respect, and showed them the wonders of their kingdom. Meanwhile, Cortez had plans of war. At the Templo Mayor, Cortez and his men suffered a devastating loss and were defeated and actually were expelled from Tenochtitlan. While this took place, the Battle of Templo Mayor, Cortez and his men originally lost when they went up against Emperor Montezuma. Cortez broke down and cried, shouted brokenhearted by a tree that is known as the Terrible Night. This tree existed in Mexico City until it was set on fire in the year 1980. The Aztec chose not to completely destroy the invaders, and as a result, another enemy subdued them. This enemy would be the germs that the Europeans brought with them. Smallpox. Smallpox, and the help of 200,000 Native Americans who wanted to see the Aztec and Emperor Montezuma fall, joined with Cortez to defeat them. Thousands of Africans also took part in this war, which legends say they were brought there by the Spaniards. Many scholars believe that Africans had been in the Americas long before the slave trade and after the slave trade. These Native Americans and Africans had been in slavery and subjugation of the Aztecs for hundreds of years and saw this as their opportunity to free themselves. Many of these people had been forced to give their people up to human sacrifice to the Aztec gods. The result of this war could be considered a genocide of the people of Tenochtitlan. The most powerful ruler and kingdom was being destroyed, and Lake Texcoco was filled with bodies of dead humans. The diseases of smallpox were so devastating to the native population that hundreds of thousands died from it. Smallpox is a virus that causes rashes, bumps, scabs, and scars, fever, chills, vomiting, headache, along with severe back pain, which the natives had no immunity to. The diseases cause fluid-filled sores to swell on the body and spread from person to person. Within a matter of years, hundreds of thousands of Native Americans would fall victim to smallpox, along with the invading force known as the Spanish. Now, when I was growing up, I didn't know much about the Aztecs, the Mexica. I didn't know anything about the pre-colonial societies in the Americas. And when I say the Americas, I mean North America, Central America, and South America, as well as the Caribbean as a continent. And I learned a lot about the Eastern cultures, the Africa, Europe, but I didn't learn anything about the landmass that I lived on. So on this episode, I am going to do part 2 of a video that I dropped yesterday, which is the Spanish Aztec War.